Hi, this is Josh Roark, running for 75th District in the House of Delegates for West Virginia. And this is an update that I'm providing on the current situation with the data centers being proposed, especially for Tucker County. Personal note, I'm a huge fan of Davis and Thomas. I think that area has a fantastic vibe the way it is. And anything that is going to disrupt that would be a shame, in my opinion. I've got some notes here, if you see me looking down, just to make sure I'm accurate on things. But basically, I want to clarify some of the things that are being spread about the data centers. First of all, if you want to look into it, I'm not going to disparage anyone particularly, but there are several representatives who have refused to comment on the data centers. And from what I've read, a lot of petitions and requests have been largely ignored or dismissed. So right now, the government is touting this data center placement, saying that it's going to increase the economy, reduce personal taxes, and provide jobs. And if you ever want to reference any of this, it comes specifically from House Bill 3137 and Senate Bill 583. So with regards to the jobs, most data centers so far do provide a large number of temporary jobs for construction. Once that part is over, they, on average, depending on the size, employ between 15 and about 100 employees permanently. And historically, most of those are highly specified technical jobs, and most of those positions are imported by the company. Security and like some basic operations might be filled locally, but most of those dozen or so jobs aren't even going to come from locals or benefit locals, other than having a few extra people in the area. As far as the taxes, the way they've got it broken down, just for quick reference here, half the taxes generated by the data center, and I'll go more into that in a minute, will go to the Personal Income Tax Reduction Fund. So that sounds good. 30% goes to the county where it's located, also sounds good. 10% gets split up to the other 54 counties on a per capita basis, sure. 5% to the Water Development Authority, and 5% to the newly created Electric Grid Stabilization Fund. So it sounds like this is a good deal for us, right? The problem is, like I said, most of the jobs generated are temporary. And you also have to look at the tax incentives for the center. So the requirements for these data centers to benefit from the tax incentives provided in the bills are that they have to have a $50 million investment, which the cost of building the thing, that's what they're doing. It doesn't say where the investment goes, just that they have to spend that much money. They also have to create 50 new jobs. Again, does not specify permanent jobs. So the construction alone makes them qualify. And they have to use 80% coal-powered electricity. I'll go into a whole other thing later about the coal situation, but that alone is an issue for a lot of reasons. Now, some of the things about these incentives, one, they're meeting the incentives just by building the things. That's kind of a given by the cost and everything. When you look at the taxes that they're claiming they're going to receive from these centers to benefit you, the property taxes in this bill are being assessed at salvage value, which means they're being assessed at 5% of their real value. So for Tucker County, the average value of an acre of land is about $8,600. The proposed data center is 10,000 acres, which means the land value would be taxed at $86 million. 5% of that is going to drop you to about $4 million, is what they're going to be taxed on. Okay? And property taxes are 60% generally for businesses outside of the municipality. So run the numbers on that. That is a huge difference. So if they're taxing 60% on $4 million, I mean, that's $2.5 or $2.5 million maybe in taxes, as opposed to, $50 million. And then half of that, so $1 million roughly, a little over $1 million is going to go towards a personal income tax reduction fund. How much do you really think that's going to benefit everybody in the state? They're also providing a tax exemption on equipment, servers, building materials, and the property used in the operation and maintenance of these centers. So these centers are paying no taxes other than their property taxes, which are being valued at 5%. How does that help the population of West Virginia? You also have to look at the electric companies that are going to be getting a potential B&O, which is business and operations tax reduction, in providing services to these data centers. By the way, there have been studies coming out to show that electric utilities are raising their rates in anticipation of data centers, since they know they can't directly raise rates because of the data centers themselves. So they're doing it preemptively, since they know it's going to take a while. Just keep that in mind too. The other thing too, just to throw out there, with regards to the detriments of the tax centers outside of finances, is that a tax center on average uses 3 to 5 million gallons of water a day. And that's for cooling, which means almost all of that evaporates and does not come back. It's not like they're pulling water out of the river and then pumping it back in after it's worked. It's pulled out and dumped into the air. So in West Virginia, where we already have a phenomenal water crisis, they're going to be sucking up more than most communities use. That amount of water is something that a town of 50,000 people would use in a day, and it's all going to go to a computer. So these are the things to keep in mind, and maybe talk to your representatives about in the future that are not concerned about this, and look into the tech companies and coal owners who are the only ones profiting from this. So follow me for more updates.